Hi everybody, I'm Julie Kerr, writer and director of the romantic comedy Geek Loves Punk, and today I'm going to be talking about a book called The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. This book is really good. I highly recommend it, and I'm going to give you 3 reasons why I recommend it. And the first thing I want to say is because I wrote and directed a romantic comedy, I never would have made a movie ever if it wasn't for this book. So I just kind of really recommend this book. Oh, I don't know Steven Pressfield, so I make no money if you buy the book. The reason I'm recommending this book is because I, a random person on YouTube, care about your well-being, random person watching this on YouTube, and this book has really benefited my life, so I actually highly recommend it and feel like it could benefit your life. Alright, so The War of Art, it's Break Through the Blocks and Win Your Inner Creative Battles by Steven Pressfield. The quote is Esquire, like a magazine, and I'm gonna curse, excuse my language. A vital gem, a kick in the ass. Okay. Also, I want to show, I've read this book like 50 million times. This is the seams, like I had to tape it together, just showing, like, see all the tape, and the pages are coming out. There's like coffee stains. I have highlighted and underlined it. So yes, I've read it like a lot. So the question I get, let's see. Okay, so the question I get a lot from people is, how do you get yourself to just sit down and write a screenplay or edit a video or do these YouTube videos? How are you getting yourself to do this? And step 1 for everybody I know is to read this book. Okay, it's kind of a motivational book, but like, and motivational books are great. It's just that it's so much more than that. So, but yeah, I say start with this book. And if you're an artist and you just can't get yourself to sit down and do art, start by reading this book. And so, the first reason I really like this book is because, checking my notes, okay. The first reason I like this book is because this is one of the greatest books ever written for artists. And the philosophy of it really nails it on the head as to what it's like to be an artist. And I know that can sound kind of like perhaps pretentious, because I grew up pretty working class, or one could say poor, but I don't mean that in a pretentious way. In essence, everyone's an artist. It just depends on what their art form is. So stick with me. Okay, so, and this is a very meat and potatoes book. In fact, Steven Pressfield had a lot of working class jobs, and he talks about it. Like, it took him years and years to make it as a writer, and he made it. Like, he wrote The Legend of Bagger Vance, I think that's right, that's his golf book. But that book got optioned and turned into a screenplay, and it turned into a movie starring Matt Damon and Will Smith, and all of that's like a really big deal, because it's hard for any of that to happen. So I don't know, like, but he for years and years he was a writer, and then he had all these jobs, and his story's pretty interesting, actually. So I think his life experience earned him the right, in my opinion, to write, in my opinion, one of the greatest books ever written, The War of Art. Okay, so yes, the first reason I like this book is because I think it's one of the greatest books ever written for artists. And in essence, everybody's an artist in some sort of way. Okay, the second reason I really like this book is because it gets you to, like, sit down and just do the work. And I've had friends ask me, like, I just can't get myself to just sit down and do the work, and I totally get it. And he talks about it in this book. I totally get why you can't just sit down and do the work. That's like a thing, and that's almost like it's kind of a spiritual battle. Sometimes it's a logistical battle if you don't have time, but 9 times out of 10 you have more time than you think you do. And where this book is about philosophy, I think it's a philosophical book, but it's a book that the minute I read this, like, I'm sitting at my computer and I'm writing screenplays, or I'm storyboarding a movie idea, or I'm doing these YouTube videos. Like, the minute I read these books that he writes, I am doing the work of being an artist, or the work of following my dreams. I'm sitting down and doing the work. So when people are like, how do you get yourself to just sit down and do the work? Step one is read this book. So the second reason I really like this book is because, yeah, it's motivational. It's so much more than just motivation, though. But it's motivational, but also it's practical. I mean, it really gets you to just do the work of art. Okay, so the third reason I really like this book is because he's not gonna lie to you. He's not lying to you. Being an artist is going to be, like, tough. And it doesn't have to be tough. I think if everyone on planet Earth really followed their dreams and followed their heart of heart dreams, I think we'd have a lot less problems in the world. And I know I'm oversimplifying by a lot. I'm not a politician. I'm not, a diplomat. I'm a filmmaker. But I feel like in my heart of hearts, if everyone really followed that dream in their hearts, I think the world would have a lot less problems. So, but because we live in a world that isn't always as awesome as it could be, he's like, he says it, like, being an artist is going to be tough sometimes. Oh yeah. He has this part in the book where he says going pro. And going pro just means the day you decide, I'm going to take this seriously, I'm going to do this. This is what I want to do with my life, And maybe it's your art isn't quite helping you pay the bills yet, but when you sit down and decide, this is it, this is what I'm doing, he calls that going pro. And I know the year I went pro as an independent filmmaker, it was 2008. And I went to a comic book convention. I saw Chris Carter on stage. He created X-Files. Chris Carter, David Duchovny, and Gillian Anderson, who's gorgeous. Okay, so anyway, the nerds were going crazy over Gillian Anderson. Okay, it's like I was at a Beatles concert. Okay, but anyway, 2008, went to a comic book convention and saw Chris Carter, David Duchovny, and Gillian Anderson on stage, and it was just really cool. The whole weekend was a great weekend, especially for nerds. Since I'm a nerd. But that's the weekend I turned pro. I was like, this is what I want to do with my life. I want to tell stories. And even Chris Carter's on stage, and he created the X-Files, which is a very beloved sci-fi series. And you get to ask questions, and someone asked, what advice do you give to filmmakers? And Chris Carter, this dude who's successful, right? He's very successful. And he says, my first word of advice is, don't be a filmmaker. I know what he means. And I just want to say, as a filmmaker, I've made a little bit of money, just a little bit. So I can't complain. And every time I make like a little bit of money, I know this is my calling in life, so I feel in my heart of hearts that I'm going to like make it, so to speak. And so every time I make like a little bit of money filmmaking, like it's just encouraging me to keep going. But to hear Chris Carter said that, he wasn't complaining because obviously he's very successful. So he wasn't like, his vibe wasn't everybody feel sorry for me. He wasn't being whiny. But Chris Carter, with a smile on his face, he says, like, don't be a filmmaker. And what he meant by that was, he's like, look, he says, like, I got like 1 or 2 hours of sleep last night because they were promoting the latest, this is 2008, so they were promoting the latest, like, X-Files movie. And he was like, look, I got like 1 or 2 hours of sleep last night because we were working on the edit last night. And then he's like, and then I had to fly here and like promote it. And he wasn't complaining. He wasn't being whiny. He was just explaining like, He's like, it's so much work and it's so hard. That's what he was saying about filmmaking. He's like, it's so much work and it's so hard. And this is a guy who's like made it. So what he said was like, if you can be happy doing anything else, for the love of God, save yourselves and do something else. And I know exactly what he meant, because it's like, it's a tough road, right? It's just a tough road. But I know this is my calling. I'm going to keep making movies, and things are going to pan out for me for sure, because I have like faith and stuff. Faith, I put that in quotation marks. No, just faith, no quotation marks. Okay, so, alright, so, yes. So, the third thing that's really great about this book, he says, being an artist is going to be tough sometimes. I'm using my cheat sheets here. So with that, what I'm going to do is, under copyright stuff, I think I can read a little bit from this book, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. But okay. So now I'm just reading from the book, which I totally encourage you guys and gals and folks to buy. But okay. The first one is, this was a foreword written by Robert McKee, who wrote a screenplay book. So here's what he has to say. He talks about reading this book. He says, at the last possible hour I did, and as I leafed through book 1, Defining the Enemy, I saw myself staring back guilty-eyed from every page. But then book 2 gave me a battle plan, book 3 a vision of victory, and as I closed The War of Art, I felt a surge of positive calm. I now know I can win this war, and if I can, so can you. The War of Art. To begin book 1, Pressfield labels the enemy of creativity resistance, his all-encompassing term for what Freud called the death wish, that destructive force inside human nature that rises whenever we consider a tough, long-term course of action that might do for us or others something that's actually good. Okay. Yeah. I think if you get the calling to do something good, you have to do it. I mean, and that's my opinion. And whatever good is for you. Yeah. Okay. So now this is another one. This is Steven Pressfield. He calls this How to Be Miserable. Okay. 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 How to be miserable. Okay. The artist committing himself to his calling has volunteered for hell. Whether he knows it or not, he will be dining for the duration on a diet of isolation, rejection, self-doubt, despair, ridicule, contempt, and humiliation. The artist must be like a Marine. He has to know how to be miserable. He has to love being miserable. He has to take pride in being more miserable than any soldier or swabby or jet jockey. Because this is war, baby, and war is hell. The War of Art. And he, by the way, he's highly respected by, he's written a lot of books where he's highly respectable. He highly respects people in the military. So do I. So he's not diminishing what people in the military do. Not at all. Like, a lot of his books are supportive of people in the military. Me too. Like, when I was in short story about the summer before I went to college, I signed up to be in the military, and they said, nope, you're too chubby. They didn't say it like that, but basically I went to sign up, and this is the summer before 2001, 9/11, and they were like, nah, like my height-weight ratio wasn't correct, so they said, thanks, but no thanks. So I went to college and became an English major. Okay. And so, but yeah, I highly, highly respect people in the military. Like, absolutely. Okay. And so, again, I cannot emphasize enough, if you're an artist, buy this book. But, okay. So this is the artist's life. Okay. This is towards the end of the book. Are you a born writer? Were you put on earth to be a painter, a scientist, an apostle of peace? You know, in the end, the question can only be answered by action. Do it or don't do it. It may help to think of it this way. If you were meant to cure cancer or write a symphony or crack cold fusion and you don't do it, you not only hurt yourself, even destroy yourself, you hurt your children, you hurt me, you hurt the planet. You shame the angels who watch over you, and you spite the Almighty who created you and only you with your unique gifts for the sole purpose of nudging the human race 1 millimeter farther along its path back to God. And if God's not the right word for you, God works for me. I believe in God. But you can say love, kindness, joy, whatever. Yeah. Creative work is not a selfish act or a bid for attention on the part of the actor. I completely agree. It's a gift to the world and every being in it. Don't cheat us of your contribution. Give us what you got. So, love it. Love it. Okay. So, and that I'm gonna end the video there. If you're an artist and you can't get yourself to sit down and do the work, read this book. I never would have made a movie if I hadn't read this book. I owe so much to Steven Pressfield for the work he's created. Okay, and so this is a great book on philosophy. So if you want more books on like implementation after you read that book, I recommend, as far as implementation, I recommend Everything is Figure Outable by Marie Forleo. There's a lot of implementation in here. And the other book I recommend is High Performance Habits, How Extraordinary People Become That Way. This is also more implementation as well. But the place you want to start, absolutely, it's a quick read, it's a great read, is The War of Art. I've read it 50 times. I'm going to read it 50 more times whenever I feel resistance is getting to me. Alright? Alright, so read that book, do some art today, whatever your art form is. Be awesome to yourself, and thank you so much for watching. Go do your art today. Love y'all. Thank you so much for watching my YouTube video. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to, I would love it if you would like, subscribe, ring the bell, or leave any comments or questions down below. I'm totally down to answer any of your questions or see what your thoughts are on the video. Also, my official call to action is that you guys and gals and folks be really, really, really good to yourselves. Be kind to yourselves. Times are tough right now. I'm keeping everybody involved with coronavirus, people on the front lines, in my prayers. And then us, just kind of everybody being stuck at home, keeping all of us in my prayers for sure. Okay, and my other call to action is that you join my email list. If you want to mosey on over to my website, this is like the link. Yeah, so I created a PDF and a PDF and a video. So I actually grew up in a abusive home, and now as an adult I'm doing quite well, considering considering a global pandemic. And yeah, so what I did is I came up with 5 daily strategies that I do every day that help me feel like good every day. And so yeah, I used to deal with a lot of sadness and depression in my 20s, and now I'm in my 30s. I started studying personal development, and in a way I've been studying personal development my entire life. So what I did is I created a PDF and a worksheet where I give 5 daily strategies that teach you to tell you the 5 strategies I do every day that just help me feel good. And also my college buddy, he joined my email list, and he saw the sequence of videos that you get to see through my email list and the worksheets, and he said they were amazing. He emailed me and he told me he loved them, and he thought they were super awesome. So he said, "These are so Julie." That's what he said, my college buddy. So that's pretty cool, pretty exciting. So hey, so I totally encourage you to watch my to join my email list. That's my official call to action. All right, thank you so much. I hope y'all have a great day. And I'm Julie Kerr, writer and director of the romantic comedy Geek Loves Punk. Okay, bye y'all. Love y'all.